Hi, I'm Leon Charney, and this is the Leon Charney Report. And who better to bring on the show this week than the man who's making news all around the world? Probably the press were trailing him in South Africa, where he just returned. He is nobody except Mayor David Dinkins, the former mayor of New York City, first Afro-American black mayor, however you want to describe it. A terrific gentleman. We always love to have him. Dave, welcome to the show.
It's good to be with you as always.
The big question, Dave, the big one. Will Parcells make the Jets a winner?
I don't know, but he better. They need to win, and he might. He's certainly equipped, and they had to cut a real good deal to get him this early.
All right. Aside from Parcells, you've been making a lot of news. By the way, were you trailed in South Africa?
Well, but not so much about New York, although. A reporter for the Times in Johannesburg did call me, but I was there with Tony O'Reilly, who is the chairman and CEO of Heinz, as in 57 varieties.
Good Jewish guy.
Good Jewish guy. But O'Reilly owns in excess of $1 billion in newspaper interests and other media interests in South Africa, Australia, Great Britain, New Zealand, and Ireland. And he's formed what he calls an international advisory board to independent newspapers. Many of these newspapers are called independent, and the company is Independent News Company. And he formed this advisory board, which is chaired by Ben Bradley, formerly of the Washington Post. About a dozen of us, and I'm one of its members, Andy Young, Ted Sorensen. It's a good group. We just meet twice a year. It's rather new, so we've only met 3 times, and we met a year ago. We met in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. This year, just Cape Town. We've met in Dublin. We go back to Dublin in June, and next February we may be in New Zealand.
David, look how the world changes. I think it was 5 years ago, you, me, Charlie Rangel were in Israel, scudding. You were wearing a gas mask?
Yeah, well, I remember that so well. Dr. Ruth, bless her heart, remember, she met us at the airport.
Right.
And the first thing they did was to give us gas masks as we arrived. And we were there just 24 hours, but it was important to be there because Teddy Kollek, the mayor of Jerusalem and Teach Lahat of Tel Aviv. They thought it was so important for people to come to Israel rather than flee Israel. You see, unfortunately, our country had persuaded Israel, don't fight back, turn the other cheek. And I've always said, well, that's pretty good when it's not your cheek. But so Israel was remarkable in withstanding that onslaught of those missiles coming in.
All right, you're a black mayor. You're running around to Israel to give support to the Jewish people. Why are you having such a problem, or why did you have such a problem in Crown Heights?
Well, because the Hasidic community in Crown Heights determined that I was the fellow they were to be angry at. They said that I had ordered the police to not arrest young blacks who were attacking Jews simply because they were Jews. This was untrue. There's a lawsuit even now. It's not yet concluded. Not only against the city, but against me personally. And it's still out there. I've been called Jew hater, anti-Semite, killer, murderer. And it's unfair and untrue. But you have to put up with this. And this, mind you, they blame me totally. They do not blame the hospital or the physicians who overlooked some of Yankel Rosenbaum's wounds, because I held his hand and looked into his eyes, and the physician said he was going to be all right. So they don't blame the hospital. They don't blame Joe Hines for not successfully prosecuting Limerick Nelson the first time. Right. They don't blame the police for not catching more people. They just blame Dinkins. They don't blame Norman Steisel, my first deputy mayor, and Jewish and from Brooklyn. They don't blame Milt Mullen, deputy mayor for public safety in charge of cops, Jewish and from Brooklyn. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago they gave him an award. The Hasidic community. And Joe Hines, when Spielman and some others endorsed him, and the press said, well, aren't you angry at him around Crown Heights? They said, we forgive him. Just Dinkins.
Why?
I don't know. I'm the same fella who formed with Percy Sutton and Baird Rustin and others an organization called BASIC, Black Americans in Support of Israel Committee, back when the United Nations had this resolution saying that Zionism and racism are the same. And it was not popular for blacks to be supportive of this issue, but we were. And we said, we know that Zionism and racism are not the same for hundreds of years of slavery. I'm the same fella who went to Munich with the American Jewish Congress, spoke at the grave site of the White Rose when President Ronald Reagan went instead to Bitburg to honor the German war dead, he said. SS troopers. Same Dinkins. Same Dinkins who stood at Madison Square Garden alone and denounced Minister Farrakhan for saying that Judaism was a gutter religion. I'm the same fella. Now, all of a sudden, so I've said to many of my friends who are Jewish, if I'm not all right, then who is?
It's true. It's a reverse racism.
Well, let me share with you, if I may,
Go ahead.
a statement that I put out upon the conviction of Limerick Nelson. Now, when he was acquitted the first time, I was then mayor, and I said, the jury has spoken. Got a terrible onslaught from the Jewish community. Now the second trial, federal trial, as you know,
Right.
he was convicted, and I said, as I said after the first trial of Limerick Nelson, the jury has spoken. Our system of justice requires that we accept this verdict, whether we agree with it or not. I am confident that the Crown Heights community will remain peaceful, irrespective of how this news is received. Having held the hand of Yankel Rosenbaum in the hospital and having received the assurances of the physicians that he would survive the brutal attack, and having met with Norman Rosenbaum at Gracie Mansion, I've always felt the pain of the family. As we remember Yankel Rosenbaum, let us not forget his young neighbor, Gavin Cato. I also recall vividly the anguish of Gavin Cato's father the night of the child's accidental death. Words were woefully inadequate to convey that I, as a father and a grandfather, too felt his pain. So as we go forward, let us be guided by the innocence of these two victims and commemorate their deaths as a starting point and not a flash point. Now, I wanted to read that because the New York Times in the editorial said that Mayor Giuliani and I had struck the right note in our comments. The New York Post said...
Eric Reindell took a real shot at you.
Yeah, well, I don't think Eric's writing those anymore. I think it's somebody else. But the point is, they took a shot at me and said that I should not mention Gavin Cato. Let me tell you about Gavin Cato. Here, this youngster was killed in an auto accident, and the accident really was caused because the driver of the motorcade, the Rebbe's motorcade, had fallen behind and was speeding up to catch up. Somehow or other lost control, hopped the curb, struck Gavin Cato and his young cousin, and he was killed. Now, to discuss this in the same breath with Yankel Rosenbaum is not inappropriate because they grew out of the same incident.
Was the Rebbe's driver negligent?
Well, that's the question. We don't know. He was never been so charged. He was spirited away, went off to Israel.
Is there documentary proof that he was speeding?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Some witnesses have said that. But the point is that if the vehicle hopped the curb and struck the child, then it is at least cause for examination, which really never truly occurred in the fashion that it might have. But that's an aside. The point is, nothing will bring that child back, as indeed nothing will bring back Yankel Rosenbaum. But for those who choose to label me anti-Semite, murderer, killer, under this set of facts, I think it's sad and unfortunate.
It pains you too, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I have stood with the Jewish community when many in my own community thought, those people don't care about you. And I said, but I believe in civil rights and human rights around the world, whether it is Northern Ireland or apartheid in South Africa, which I fought against. And but you see, I'm able to get up every morning and look in the mirror and know that I have done the right thing.
And you got a great face.
Well, I don't know.
David, why all this news about this possibility and then this refutation, I guess, of running for mayor?
Well, what happened was several friends of mine, really fans, clearly biased in my favor, urged me to run. They were dissatisfied with the mayor, of course, and dissatisfied with the current candidates, all four of them, Al Sharpton, Sal Albanese, Freddie Ferrer, and Ruth Messenger, thought that they could not succeed, urged me to run, thought that I could. I said, no, I don't want to run again. I've done that, and I want to help someone else. They said, well, think about it. I said, well, at least consider it. I said, okay, I'll think about it. And then someone called Adam Nagurney of the New York Times.
Leak the story.
And then he called me and said, is it true you're thinking about it? I said, yes, it is. I said, well, what are the circumstances? I repeat what I just told you, and I thought that it might be maybe an inch and a half in the paper. Front page story, A1, not metropolitan section. Front page, jump page into the metro section with a photograph, and the news and the Post similarly did big stories, and so it's sort of.
Well, that's fascinating, and
that's what happened.
Yeah, so that shows A, that you're very popular, and B, that they took you very seriously.
Well, it was serious in the sense that I was seriously contemplating it. That didn't mean that I was 90% thinking of running.
No, I understand. I'll tell you a story. I went to Jimmy Carter in 1984 at the Waldorf Astoria, and I said, Mr. President, I'm not so sure Ronald Reagan's the greatest thing in this world. Would you consider running for president again? Because, I work with Carter, and I like Carter a lot. And the two of us just had a conversation, and he said to me, Leon, I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I never want you to talk about them to anybody because they'll leak. And if President Carter says he's going to run again, it's a big story.
Of course.
And we didn't. So I know what you went through, and I know what your feelings were. But was there ever a serious thought that you might do it, David?
There was a serious thought that I would consider it,
that
and I
understand.
did. But among the reasons that I determined not to go was my family. My bride and I will have been married 44 years come August. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter has 2 children, and I don't see my grandchildren as I see them more now than I did when I was mayor, certainly. They live in Connecticut. My son-in-law is a jazz musician who teaches music at Wesleyan University. My son travels a lot. He lives in Las Vegas. He's a television producer for sports. He's done the last several Tyson fights. He'll do this one upcoming in May. I may decide to go down. Really, not so much to see the fight as to spend some time with my son.
See how it works, too.
So I enjoy what I'm doing now. I'm a professor at Columbia University in the School of International and Public Affairs, in the public affairs portion.
Right.
I'm a senior fellow at the Barnard-Columbia Center for Urban Policy. I do a little consulting with Ron Perlman. I have an office in his building on Madison Avenue. I serve on 7 corporate boards. I serve on at least 30 advisory boards and boards of directors of foundations and other charities, mostly dealing with young people and children. I love kids. And I have a radio show. I haven't worked up to television like you yet.
Well, you'll get there.
And in fact, just the other day, I cut a commercial for McDonald's for Black History Month.
Well, Koch will get very upset about that.
For which they pay you,
Yeah, I know. Mario Coe ate a few potato chips, too.
So I'm busy. I enjoy what I do. God's been good to me. In 1995, in August, I had a triple bypass. It was to have been a double, but I figured while they had me open, I'd go for 3.
Yeah, same price.
Same price.
Right.
But now I'm back. I play tennis 5 times a week. And and I'll be 70 come July.
Well, I said last week that we talked about egos of political people, and we had 2 reporters on, and I made a fearless forecast last week that David Dinkins would not run because I think life is too good for him. And
you've always been smarter than everybody else. That's why you were the president's counsel.
Well, we've had Ed Koch on here, who's also had a fulfilled life.
Oh, yeah.
And he says good things about you.
Ed's enjoying himself.
He really has a good time. You're doing everything he's doing, except you're not a movie critic, and you could probably get that job if you want.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm sure you can walk.
But I see Ed from time to time, and he truly is happy. He certainly appears to me to be happy.
He loves it. He loves it.
And that's good.
And, I met with your friend Denny Farrell.
It's my buddy. That's my leader.
Right. And I said, Denny, this is the day that the New York Times article came out, And I said, Denny, is David running? He says, no way, because if David were running, I'd have had a call. And I said, okay. So it wasn't hard to make a fearless forecast. But it does show it's a beautiful thing to see the response that you get, and you can garner headlines, and it's a wonderful thing. Another man that we both love very much is Abe Beam, who's probably watching the show.
Oh, bless his heart, isn't he? He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, and one of the most honest political figures I've ever met, and straight and beautiful. I don't think he's gotten a fair shake yet in this city.
He hasn't gotten a fair shake because, you see, in the fiscal crisis of the mid-'70s, and Abe was mayor, and it was very tough.
Right.
And we came out of that. We came out of that because of Abe Beam and Hugh Carey and Victor Gottbaum and Felix Roeden and others. Now, but when people tell the story, they act as though it was Ed Koch who became mayor in January of 1978. Now, not that Ed didn't do a good job in his first term. Many of us supported him. Basil Patterson was a deputy mayor. I was on his transition committee. But city was saved because of the persons I named, including Abe Beam.
Right.
And I will always believe that the reason that Abe ran for election in 1977, and he might not have otherwise run, but he ran because so many people blamed him for the plight of the city. And his big thing as a former budget director and controller was he had fiscal expertise, as indeed he had.
He's just a wonderful man. I've dealt with him. I've represented him. He's a beautiful person, and he's not gotten his due. And I say that to the public, and everybody should hear it.
I think he'll be 91 in March.
And he still swims.
And he goes to work every day.
It's wonderful.
Wow, he's a great guy.
I had Robert Gates on this show. Robert Gates, former CIA director. He, 27 years spent with the CIA. He said to me, Leon, the man who really broke the East-West confrontation with the Soviet Union was Jimmy Carter, and the man who got the credit for it was Ronald Reagan. Why do I bring that up? Safe Streets were initiated by David Dinkins, and Giuliani is getting the credit of being the best mayor for crime and who knows what. Well,
you're right. You know, in summer of 1990, when people were getting struck by stray bullets and whatnot, and the headlines screamed, "Dave, do something." And we were doing something. We were analyzing the police department, which hadn't been done in a quarter century. And that report done by Lee Brown and Ray Kelly formed the basis. It was like a little phone book. It was a basis of legislation that we call Safe Streets, Safe City, subtitled Cops and Kids. And we had to sell it to the business community, to the city council. Peter Vallone was magnificent. We couldn't have gotten this done without the support of the council. And then we went to Albany, which we had to have. Support Denny was very helpful in Albany, I might add. And it was difficult, especially in the Senate. They wanted to micromanage the police department. But we got all that done. This, as you know, is a 12.5% surcharge on personal income tax, with the money segregated for police and these related areas. Now, Rudolph Giuliani has never given me credit for it. Bill Bratton, since he and Giuliani have fallen out, I've seen him on television giving our administration credit for that. But just last night, I saw Fran Ryder, deputy mayor, a big member of the Liberal Party, spelled with a capital L. Never could it be spelled with a small L, because it's not the Liberal Party of Alex Rose and Dave Dubinsky and Donald Harrington. But she was on television saying that I didn't deserve any credit for Safe Streets, Safe City. So I said, well, they can revise history all they want, but somebody up there knows what's going on.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate Giuliani as a mayor?
I rate him very low. He because I have a different criteria. See, he would be below 50% for me, because the reason he gets big numbers is crime. Now, first of all, he doesn't deserve all of the credit for crime. He deserves some, to be sure. But you see, even in the polls, he does less than 50% in areas of education, welfare, and budget.
Koch says that all the time.
And
he's a police commissioner, not a mayor.
Right. I've said to Koch, I said, how can you say he's a good mayor except you disagree with him about independence of the judiciary? I said, he's not a good mayor because he doesn't do this, 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 and I enumerate these things.
Well, Koch said he would not endorse him again.
No, I know.
He said that. He's looking at the Freddie Ferrer, Ruth. And you endorsed Ruth Messenger today?
I endorsed Ruth Messenger today and was proud to do so. And she didn't know it, didn't know I was going to do it. It had been rumored that I was going to do it. But at about 5:30 this morning, I made calls. Al Sharpton was out in Ohio, and I called him first because he was about to leave the hotel. Had a short conversation with him, and then I called Ruth, and then I called Freddie, who said, well, I expected that. And I called Sal Albanese. We had a very long conversation. I have respect and affection for all of these people, for each of them. But I've got to do what I think is best. And what is best is not to simply sit it out and wait for the primary to be over and then say, I support the Democratic nominee. That's an easy way out, but it's not the best way if you care about this city and love it like I do. See, Denny, for instance, is in a different posture.
Denny Farrell.
Denny Farrell is a leader of all the Democrats, so he doesn't want to choose among them. And I would counsel him that way where he'd ask me, but he doesn't need to. But I'm in a different position. And so I've made a choice, and I think it's a proper one.
Any chance David Dinkins will become a governor or a senator?
Oh, no.
An ambassador?
No, I've been offered ambassadorships by the Clinton administration, but...
You didn't want it?
No.
You look like an ambassador, David.
I don't know about that. But,
you didn't want to be an ambassador, huh?
No, I can't afford it, frankly. Anybody in public life, as I have been for most of your life, you're poor. And now I have to concern myself with making sure that I can help my family, my grandchildren. I got little Jamal is 10 and Khalil is 6, and I love them. I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure that should something happen to me, that my wife is provided for.
You come out not too rich out of this political business, huh?
No, but I'm rich in many other ways.
Right.
I'm rich so many other ways.
David, who is your favorite political personality that you've studied or know? Have you have one?
Well, if you will, in that he is the president of a country, the Republic of South Africa,
Mandela?
I would have to pick Nelson Mandela, that magnificent freedom fighter. What a man. And I was privileged to be mayor when he got out of Robben Island prison. Incidentally, I went to Robben Island when I was in South Africa just a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the cell where they kept him, a little bitty cell.
Remind me, Elliot Rose, my producer, was in Russia with Sharansky.
I remember him well.
He went to the Gulag last week, too, to see the...
I know, I read of that.
And Mandela, I'll tell you who agrees with you. Ezer Weitzman, who's the president of Israel, met Mandela at his inauguration. Very, very impressive guy.
See, the thing that's so beautiful about this, they've ended apartheid. Now, a lot of people died along the way.
Right.
681 people died at the Soweto uprising. There's been a lot of bloodshed. We're just now learning what really happened to Steve Biko. But there is a tremendous accomplishment there in South Africa. Not just the blacks, but whites and coloreds, as they call them, and Indians. But the thing that's amazing, or two things that are amazing. One, the total absence of bitterness on the part of Nelson Mandela and many others, but especially him. And I spent, when he came to New York, he stayed with us at Gracie Mansion, he and Winnie Mandela. So I saw him at formal settings and press conferences and dinners, and I saw him also in casual moments playing with my grandchildren. And the guy is always the same. Now, the other big thing about South Africa is the whole concept of truth and reconciliation. They have this commission headed by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, where if there's been a political crime, you come and you tell about it. And if you are totally forthcoming and they believe you, then you can apply for amnesty. And even if you've killed people, you're able to go free. This is whites, blacks, everybody. Now, I got to tell you, could you envision, say, the Nuremberg trials and say, instead of that, we're going to have truth and reconciliation? No way.
No way.
And this is unprecedented in human history. And it's not that it's not controversial, because Steve Biko's family has said that The state can't forgive. Only God can forgive, or we can. The state can't forgive.
By the way, Mandela has a wonderful girlfriend now. She's the wife of a former leader.
And he's in love and he's happy.
It's
and
wonderful. How old
he deserves it.
How old is he?
He's not so old. He's 76 or 7 or so. But
how long is his term for over there? 4 years?
But he'll be up in about another year or so.
Will he go again?
No.
He won't go again.
No. But they've got what we call in sports a deep bench.
Is that right?
But the world doesn't know it.
No, we don't.
But Thabo Mbeki, who is the deputy president, deputy executive president, he and de Klerk had been the two deputy presidents. I saw de Klerk. I had dinner with him a couple of weeks ago too.
Really? Was he in New York?
No, in South Africa.
In South Africa.
Yeah. But Mandela, when you speak about his age, think of it this way. Let's assume he's 76 or 77.
Right.
All that means is that when he's 107, I'll be 100.
You're looking good.
Yeah, we're that close.
And he looks good too.
Oh, he's remarkable.
How's the economy in South Africa?
It needs an infusion of international finance, and that's difficult to come by. It is beginning to come from elsewhere in the world, not so much from the United States.
Far East?
Yeah. And part of the reason for it is, I think, a fear of instability in the government, and also that they're not aware that they have some good, bright young people, coming along behind Mandela. And that's why Mandela, his just putting an arm around Thabo Mbeki and indicating that that's his choice, but also using some care to say it is really the option of the ANC, that is the African National Party. They decide who, it's like the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. So Nelson can simply say, I favor this person, but the choice will be made by the party, and then Thabo Mbeki will run as the choice of the party, and of course he'll be elected.
David, I remember the last time you appeared on this show, you told me a story about you being a Marine in Washington and being segregated. See how my memory is? Not bad,
Pretty
right?
good.
For a Jewish boy.
Yeah, well, that was after I got out of the Marine Corps. I was at...
After serving the country,
right.
You went through segregation.
I was in World War II.
All right, now we're to a point where there's a possibility of a black president, and let's take Colin Powell for a minute. Would you believe that in your lifetime you would have seen something like that?
No, you wouldn't.
Do you think Colin could be a president, by the way?
Sure he could. He would. The difficulty with his being elected a president is his association with the Republican Party. No, I'm serious. That's what makes it difficult,
right.
Because, you see, he has to say, well, I stand for affirmative action, I stand for this, I stand for that, which he does. And then somebody said, well, would you explain Newt Gingrich? Will you explain Jesse Helms? And that's difficult. We had a similar situation.
Yeah, but you had that in the Democratic Party.
I was going to say, we had a similar situation in the Democratic Party some years ago when there was Bilbo and Rankin. Remember those names?
Sure.
And in fact...
George Wallace.
Sure. But he certainly is a person of the caliber, the intellect, the charisma to certainly lead this country, no question.
Have you done a book yet?
No, but
Are you on to it?
I got it. When I first left office, I was besieged with offers from literary agents and whatnot. I said, well, maybe later. And what happens is every time I hear somebody distort what occurred during my administration, as they revise history, I say to myself, there's a whole chapter. I mean, I could write a book just listening to what some people say, because I know what really happened.
You don't want to do a book?
I may well do one.
I think you should, and I once told Dave Beam, I think he's remiss that he didn't do a book. I think you need to see the history. I went through Camp David. I know what the history was. It compelled me, not for ego
That's why you did your book.
Exactly.
That was very important.
You had to do it. You have to clear the history. And if you don't clear it, then you get a superficial history. I read a book about Jefferson where they come out with new findings about him that who knows, he was a sex maniac in France, and he was doing this and that. So you need to have your record straight, and it's obvious.
I agree with that, and I may well write
I'm
a
sure there are
book.
many agents listening to this show. If you want to do a book with David, get in touch with him or get in touch with us, and we'll get in touch with him. Tell me about O.J. Simpson. How do you feel about that whole thing?
You know, it's interesting you should ask. Just today, a limo driver asked me, he said, tell me, do you think O.J. did it? And my response was, well, I'm a lawyer, and I have to tell you that if you're not in the courtroom, hearing all the evidence and seeing the expression as witnesses are examined and whatnot, it's pretty difficult following it on television and reading it in the press. I said, I don't know. I can tell you that most people think he did. That's the impression I get. But I don't know whether he did or not. I can't intelligently discuss the forensic evidence. I can't discuss the gloves or the shoes or the drops of blood and whatnot. I just don't know. I honestly, God, don't know.
Is it a big issue, though, for the American community, race, white, black? I mean, race?
Well, it had been. I don't know whether it is as much today as it once was, because people are sort of tired of it. They're tired of it. They really are.
Aren't you a little bit annoyed at some of the lawyers? See, I'm not naming anybody, but it became a...
you mean the lawyers that go on television and analyze it?
Every night. I mean, what kind of justice is this? I mean, instant justice. It became an industry.
I know.
It's a bit unfair.
Well, it is, but...
Did you ever meet O.J.? Do you know him?
No, I met him once, a very long time. He wouldn't know me from left field, other than maybe he knows I was a guy who was mayor or something like that.
Your name, believe me. You're one of the most famous black personalities in the world. Well, in the Democratic Party, who are the up-and-coming black people? I remember that we were at the convention with you, and you were pushing a fellow from North Carolina. He lost, I think.
Harvey Gantt.
Harvey Gantt.
Harvey Gant's a very fine man, and he was running for the United States Senate. He's run twice now for the United States Senate. Gantz Helms said that he did not succeed. He's a fine man. But there are young people coming along. By young, I mean in the 30 to 50 range. Who are bright women too, I might add, women and men of, and not just blacks, but like I'm up at Columbia,
right?
And I enjoy it so much because I like young people, and when you meet young men and women coming along, and I encourage them to involve themselves in public service, and I define public service as not just politics and government, but the so-called NGOs, not-for-profit and non-governmental organizations. And I sort of preach this at them all the time. And I try to say, you can't, it's difficult to express the gratitude one gets from serving. You understand that. You've done it. And it's very difficult to express. And I tell them, I says, nothing wrong with going to Wall Street or Madison Avenue and making money, and then you write a check to the NAACP or the AMFAR or UJA Federation or whatever your favorite charity. That's fine, and we need that. But also, we need some people in public service, and it is gratifying as you meet young people, white, black, Latino, Asian, because you see a lot of them in schools. You see them in bunches, and a lot of them really are dedicated, committed people. And we have a lot of people holding a public office who are seeking higher office, who are impressive and coming along. And
I think one of the most impressive people I've ever met is your buddy, Charlie Rangel.
That's my brother.
He is really an impressive guy, and the fact that he lost out to be chairman of Ways and Means probably hurt the country socially much more than people understand. Now, I was at the convention with you, David, and a lot of people, Democrats, were pretty angry at Clinton for signing that welfare bill, and you know that.
Well, a lot of us, I was.
I mean, they were really up in arms. You talked to Charlie about it. You talked to local guys here. They were really up in arms. Charlie, basically, he's in a sense, he's a front backbencher now, but, he doesn't have that power. And he's a terrific political personality.
He is. He's a very bright guy. Recently there was a New York magazine did a story about Harlem, and it said that in the old days you couldn't get anything done in Harlem unless you checked with Charlie Rangel, Percy Sutton, Basil Patterson, David Dinkins. Now, this is not true, but that's what they wrote. Pardon me. It said we got new folks coming along. And they spoke about the empowerment zone and all the good things that were going to happen in Harlem. Now, the empowerment zone is Charlie Rangel. Charlie Rangel, when the Democrats were in power, went to Dan Rostenkowski, who was then chairman of Ways and Means, said, we want this money for empowerment zones. We have X number around the country. And he was told, the budget situation is such that you got to produce the money. If you want it for this, you have to take it from that. There won't be any additional money added to the budget. And Charlie said to them, you just get the legislation, I'll get the money. He got the legislation, and he got the money out of the White House. It really comes out of Health and Human Services, but it's administered by HUD. Now, so that's why we have it. Now, the reason that the empowerment zone is in Harlem, and East Harlem, a little bit of the Bronx, is because David Dinkins was mayor, and that's the area I selected for our application. Now, we didn't have to win. They could have picked, other cities. There are only about 8 cities nationwide. But we had a pretty good shot at it. The chairman of the commission of HUD was not unfriendly to New York. So we got it. So when New York Magazine writes this article about what doesn't happen, ignoring the housing that was produced during my administration and some of the effort that we directed even when I was borough president, and so that Rudolph Giuliani holds up New York Magazine, he says, I've done more for Harlem than Dinkins. Of course, the other day I said, this is just part of the problem. When the mayor sees me, he thinks Harlem. I was mayor of all the people. All the people.
I remember.
Yeah.
In state politics, are we going to see a black governor soon?
Well, it's possible. It's very possible. Many of us think that Carl McCall is certainly of the caliber. He is of the stature. He's got the intellect. He's the political wisdom to achieve that high office. Frankly, I had urged him to run for mayor. I think he could have won in a walk. But he didn't want to be mayor. He wants statewide office. So we'll see. Now, it's going to get crowded. Put aside Attorney General for the moment. And there will be people going after Dennis Vacco,
right,
the Attorney General, and they should.
Right.
He's a disaster. He's not running that office in a fine fashion that Bob Abrams did. I can tell you that. But at any rate, put that aside, and you're looking at the United States Senate, the seat held by Al D'Amato, and the governor's post by Governor Pataki. Now, you hear these names. Carl McCall, possibly for governor. You hear Chuck Schumer, possibly for governor, maybe for the Senate. Mark Green, definitely for the Senate. Geraldine Ferrara, I heard in the news recently, has sent letters around saying, in effect, stay loose. I may want to go for the Senate. Peter Vallone, because of term limits, he won't be able to stay.
He's a great man, by the way.
Peter's a good guy.
Really?
He's a good friend of mine. We did a lot of good stuff together.
He's a good man.
So it's going to get crowded, and all these are good people. A lot of good people.
Are you going to endorse anyone?
Oh, sure, sooner or later. It's much too early now to tell.
What's your relationship with Bill Clinton today?
It's good. I like the president. I mean, I was displeased about the welfare bill, as you were and many others, but I'm very fond of the president. You see, I remember him as a man who came to Gracie Mansion when I was mayor, along with a few other candidates for the presidency, because we had like a president's forum. And
you brought the convention at you.
And I brought the thanks to Ron Brown, who's gone to his reward, but he was the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and we worked very hard at applying for it, and we won. And then we put on a great convention. Alexis Herman was sort of like the director of the convention, I guess was her title, but she was the person like in charge of all the nuts and bolts.
She's now Secretary of Labor, right?
She's been so designated. I talked to her the other day and wished her well. I pray for her confirmation. She's a good person, bright young woman.
All right, so you were meeting with Clinton you held your forum, and you were attracted to him.
Yeah, oh yeah. But, I'm at this juncture, I'm supposed to be independent because I'm mayor of the whole city and whatnot. But we gave him a send-off, after that convention when he was designated the candidate, and he went out of here a winner. And, of course, New York delivered for him that year, and just most recently, we delivered big time So
You know who did that for Jimmy Carter? Abe Beam.
yeah,
He endorsed Carter at the Gracie Mansion steps, not Gracie, at City Hall steps, and Carter attributes his victory to that endorsement. So mayors in New York have a powerful.
you get to talk to President Carter much?
Yeah, sure.
Well, would you give me my regards? I was always fond of him.
We're going to be filming him on March 18th. There is the 50th anniversary of the State of Israel, and one of the important ingredients in that, French television is doing it, is the Camp David Accords, obviously.
Boy.
I remember meeting you at the convention. We were on this television show for about 8 years, and you were, at that time, helping Jesse Jackson at the convention.
Right.
And a lot of Jews were angry because Jesse at that time was seeking to get involved with the PLO or backing the PLO. Look at the way the world has changed. It's unbelievable. 7, 8 years ago, I was dispatched secretly to see Arafat in Tunis. I couldn't tell anybody in the world. And today, Bibi Netanyahu is shaking his hands.
Because of trouble Andy Young got in.
Andy Young and McHenry.
McDonald Henry. So things change.
David, I know you got to leave. I hate to let you go. I mean,
if you would permit me to come visit with you again, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
I enjoy being with you.
It's my pleasure. You have an open forum here, and I won't bring anybody next to you like Mr. Koch or Mr. Giuliani. He'll be chatting along. Anyway, if you decide to change your mind, WLIB is not the exclusive.
All right.
You get a little bit of it.
Okay, buddy.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Leon.
We're back. It's a literary test today because we're doing only authors, and it's amazing. I mean, it's from one area to another area, from germ warfare and biological warfare to Ben Frank's story about how to find Jewish food in Europe. And now we're talking about a man who came all the way from Holland to tell us about a book he's written for St. Martin's Press called Only My Life, and his name is Louis Dewijze. And Louis, welcome to the show. It's a long trip to get to this studio from Holland, and it must have been a long trip for you to write this book. How long did it take for you to write this book?
Well, the first contact started with my friend to do it, started in 1985.
So it's about 10 years.
10 years
to
ago,
write this
yes.
book. All right, your book is unusual because, in a sense, you were a character during the Holocaust, and you survived by your wits, by doing special things for the SS guards, and you played soccer. Tell us about these stories. It's fascinating.
Well, if they ask me how can one survive, I think there's no recipe for survival. But there are 3 things I think are very important. Excuse me if my English is not so good.
It's too late now. We can't do anything about it.
Good. Well, anyway, I think you have to have the will to survive. Coincidence and luck, the 3. And never think back, not 1 minute over what's happening, because that's gone. And the next minute is only important in survival.
Every survivor has a story. There's no question about it. What is, in your opinion, what makes your story very unique? And I don't mean to minimize what it is, but we've had a lot of people on. About 2 weeks ago, I had an author on who wrote a book called The Defiant, and it was a story about a Jew in Poland who managed to form the Jewish Partisans Brigade, which is part of the Russian army.
Yeah.
You have a unique story in the way you survived, and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I told you already, there's no recipe for it.
No, but what did you do, actually?
What did I do?
First of all, all right, let's take you back. You were born in where?
I'm born in a small village not far from Nijmegen, in a Catholic village with only 30 Jewish families in it.
And where's this, in Holland?
It's in Holland. It's
right.
South of Nijmegen, about 20 miles.
And when did the Nazis invade Holland? What year?
They invaded Holland the 10th of May of 1940.
And how old were you?
I was 18 years.
18?
18 years.
So you could have been going to the army already.
Well, I was about to go to the army.
Right.
Because the same year my age was on. But then the 10th of May, it was all over because the Germans came.
All right, where were you on the 10th of May?
At home, and I remembered it as a day of yesterday because at 4 o'clock I woke up in the morning, and I saw hundreds of planes flying over our country. And you know, Nijmegen is about 2 miles from the German border. So what we thought is, this is going to be a huge attack on England, not knowing that they were already in Holland.
Had you heard anything about the Nazis and the Holocaust or attacks on Jews? You had nothing. You had no knowledge of it.
Yes, I knew everything about it.
You did know,
because my grandmother was German,
right?
And their family lived on the other side of the border.
Right.
So we knew what happened. There was a family not far from this border. They lived there in a small town called Kaldenkirchen. And as she was the sister of my grandmother, my father and her sons were cousins, and they met regularly. And then we knew already.
So they told you
after this thing, they came to us and brought their golden watches, their jewelry already, because they knew it went wrong.
All right, so you're with your parents in your home and you see a bunch of planes flying over.
Yeah.
And what do you say? What do you do? You panic?
And we didn't panic because we thought it was an attack
Right.
on England.
Right.
And then we heard a fantastic explosion, and then the famous Nijmegen Bridge was put in the air by the Dutch,
Right.
in order to prevent the Germans from crossing the river.
Right.
And then my friend came with a bicycle, and we went to the bridge to see what was on there,
Right.
not knowing that they were fighting there. We heard the bullets left and right from our ears, and then we knew there was something wrong.
And what did your parents say?
My father was not at home. He was in the west of the country. He bought cattle for the Dutch army, and he was in the market to buy the cattle. And we had no contact with him. So we were very, very sad. What would happen to him, we didn't know.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had two sisters.
And they were home?
One was not home. She married, and she spent the night with the parents of her husband. We had also one godchild, a German girl who stayed with us since the last 2 years before the war, because we had all the many German children sent away from Germany to Holland in order to save them.
German Jewish?
Jewish, all Jewish. I think.
Was your family Orthodox Jewish?
No, it was not. Our family was liberal Jewish.
Very liberal.
My grandfather was Orthodox, but my parents were. We didn't eat chazer.
Which is unkosher food.
Well, I know, yes.
No, I have to explain it to my audience. All right, so now what happens after May 10th? What happens on May 11th?
On May the 11th, we went to an aunt who lived very, very well behind our house, not far from us, and we were waiting for my dad to come home. Came home after 4 days, and then we were still doing some. He was still doing some business. He was a cattle dealer. He bought cattle to the farmers, but then slowly the measurement of the German occupation went worse and worse and worse. We couldn't go into parks. We couldn't go into the cinema. We couldn't go at schools anymore. I left the school. But then I had to leave my soccer club. I was a good soccer player. And when we were only allowed to stay till 8 o'clock in the evening, we could go out, and then we had to come home and stay there. And then, the 2nd of October, 1942, there was a 12 o'clock night. There was the bell rang, and then 2 collaborators, policemen, came to pick us up.
Dutch collaborators?
Dutch collaborators.
Not Jewish?
Not Jewish, no.
Did you know any Jewish collaborators?
I know a Jewish collaborator who was taken prisoner afterwards, but there was a man who was an informant for the.
What happened to him?
I think he was deported as well.
Didn't help.
It didn't help, no.
All right. So were you captured by the Germans?
Well, yes. Well, we were sent to this camp, the Westerbork camp, which was a camp where all the Jews were collected in order to be sent to. We didn't know exactly where.
Extermination.
Yes.
Okay, and tell me about life in the camp.
The life in the camp, and that camp in Holland, was not too bad, provided you were able to stay there. There was not a la carte menu, but there was reasonable food.
And some people say the Dutch people were anti-Semitic. Some say they were very helpful. Some say Queen Beatrice was very helpful. Some say the new history shows that they were very strong in collaboration with the Nazis. What are your feelings about that?
Well, I think that those people who were left to govern us, to do the administration, the police, the people who worked at the local administration were 50%, but most of them didn't want to refuse collaboration.
Really?
Helpful to the
like
Germans.
France, like Vichy France.
The same.
Now,
but there was a resistance.
how many in your camp survived?
Well, I arrived at Birkenau, and that's where the selection is.
Yeah.
They say left or right. You know the story.
Yeah.
Then I went to the Auschwitz, the old camp.
Auschwitz.
That is Birkenau. You come. That's where the main people,
Yeah.
the main lot was killed.
Right.
Then we went. After a day, we were selected to go to work.
Right.
With the young people, say from 16 to.
If you were strong, they needed
I was
workers.
strong. I was well trained.
Right.
And we stayed there in quarantine for about 14, I think 2 weeks. And then I stayed in the barrack. They called him Schmerz. It was the barrack where most of the Polish resistance people were kept and were against the black wall within the yard. Over 20,000 were finished.
How many of your
massacred.
family survived?
Only my sister. One sister was sent to Theresienstadt. She survived, and the other sister, who was not at home when his collaborator policeman came, she was hidden in Holland and survived. So it's a miracle that my two sisters, and they're still alive.
Really
that my
miracle.
parents, my uncles,
All killed.
oh well, the whole lot, apart from one family who was not far away, hidden in the Anne Frank.
How old were you when the war ended?
I was 19. I was 23.
And what did you do right after the war?
I wanted to forget what I did. Try to make some money. I hadn't got a penny. I had nothing. I started work and I started, trying to make some money.
Were you able to return to your home?
Yeah. Well, the home was occupied by an old lady, but she had to leave it. And then my two sisters and I were again in this house. We had a house back to us. Yes.
Did you find that your Dutch neighbors who lived on the street with
Yeah.
you, what happened to them?
Well, I tell you, my two, there were not many Jews in where I lived. My two friends, one were in the resistance, and the other one came even to see me in Westerbork, risking his life.
Really?
So I had two fantastic non-Jewish friends, still my friends.
Really?
Yes, but the neighbor, where I had hidden my motorbike, they said it was gone. They didn't tell me how it went, but I think they sold it and they took the money.
But the Germans, if you weren't Jewish, did they left them in the town? They didn't take them away, right?
They didn't take them away. No. You mean the Jewish?
No, I mean the non-Jewish Dutch.
Yes. Provided they were not caught because of the resistance.
Yeah, this
well, they were executed. They were executed if they found them.
In the resistance?
In the resistance, yes.
Right, but if they collaborated, they existed.
Yes.
And what happened to the people who collaborated after the war? What did the Dutch do to them?
They put them to court. A lot of them put them to court, yes. And they had to go to prison, and the main collaborators were executed.
What compelled you to write this book? What compelled you to write this book?
Well, I think the story must be told, and also I try to tell people what can happen if people are not tolerant to other people. What can people do to other people because they have a different skin color, because they have different religion. I go to schools to help my speech. I go to senior people.
Give lectures,
just to tell the story and try to convince, especially youngsters, how to behave, not to follow the racial people in our country, which we have too, not many. There
you
is
think-
not a lot of anti-Semitism.
Louis,
in
do you
our-
think if you were not a good soccer player, you'd be sitting here today?
It would be. I'm not quite sure I would sit here today.
That's what I'm
But
asking.
No, I think it helped. It helped. A lot of things helped. The fact that I was able to smuggle 2 bottles of vodka every day
Kept you alive.
kept me alive. The fact that one of the German bosses, who was a Nazi, 100% Nazi, had been to Holland, and he spoke a few Dutch words, and then he talked to me a little bit Dutch, showing me that he could speak Dutch, and then he started to fatten rabbits. And he said to me, "You know about rabbits?" I said, "We had so many rabbits at home."
Hey, Louis, thank you very much for coming over from Holland. Looks to me like you've had the luck of a few rabbits, the way you survived,
Yeah.
and it's a tragic but happy story because you're
Yes.
here.
I think that the story has to be told and convince people and youngsters what can happen if people are not tolerant and do hate each other.
Thank you for coming up. We'll see you next week.